إن الحمد لله نحمده ونستعينه ونستغفره ونستهديه ونعوذ بالله من شرور أنفسنا وسيئات أعمالنا من يهده الله فلا مضل له ومن يضلله فلا هادي له وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدًا عبده ورسوله وصفيه وخليله بلغ الرسالة وأدى الأمانة ونصح الأمة وكشف الغمة وتركنا على المحجة البيضاء ليلها كنهارها لا يزيغ عنها إلا هالك وصلوات الله وسلامه عليه وعلى آله الطيبين الطاهرين وصحابته الغر الميامين والتابعين ومن تبعهم بإحسان إلى يوم الدين وبعد. عباد الله، أولا أوصيكم وأوصي نفسي بتقوى الله، فقد فاز المتقون حيث قال الله سبحانه: أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم ولقد وصينا الذين أوتوا الكتاب من قبلكم وإياكم أن اتقوا الله. وقال أيضا في جزاء ذلك: يا أيها الذين آمنوا اتقوا الله وقولوا قولا سديدا يصلح لكم أعمالكم ويغفر لكم ذنوبكم ومن يطع الله ورسوله فقد فاز فوزا عظيما. اللهم اجعلنا من المتقين والفائزين. نفتتح خطبتنا بحكمة قالها ابن عطاء الله السكندري رحمة الله عليه، إمام علامة من العلماء المالكية، حين قال من حكمه: ما بسقت أغصان ذل إلا على بذر طمع. Ibn Ata'illah Secondary rahmatullahi alayh, he easily says in one of his aphorisms, which if you and I pay attention to them, you literally realize that many of us have turned away from the words that he left behind for you and I. Yes, there might not be a hadith, there might not be a Qur'an, but in reality they all stem from the sources that you and I depend on. And that is both the Qur'an and hadith. ما بسقت أغصان ذل. The branches of humiliation have not took firm roots on earth إلا على بذر طمع. Only that they were watered by the seeds of what? Greediness. Only that reason. Because many people have forgotten, by returning us back to the verse of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Surah Al-Munafiqun, وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَفْقَهُ. To Allah belongs the honor. The pride that mankind wants in their lives, it belongs to Allah. Hence Allah tabaraka wa ta'ala ابتدأ باسمه وقال وَلِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ. إذا قدم الاسم هنا تجد ماذا؟ تجد أنه يفيد التوكيد. It teaches us that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is assuring us that honor, nobility and pride all belongs to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Then he says after that, وَلِرَسُولِهِ, and his prophet, وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ, and the believers, وَلَكِنَّ الْمُنَافِقِينَ لَا يَفْقَهُ. The hypocrites, they will never understand and they will never know. What you realize is that if you look at the world today, كما يقول الشاعر: أتطمع في ليلى وإنما تقطع أعناق الرجال المطامع. Are you going to desire Layla, meaning Layla as a woman? Are you going to desire a woman which you know literally the greed in the hearts by desiring that which you shouldn't has literally severed the heads of men? How? When you're greedy of something and you're running towards it, you're living your life for it, you become a abd for that. You become a slave of it. You become a servant of it. مثلا Utbah ibn Rabi'ah. And these four components that he mentions to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam are the main reasons why the world is in chaos today. And also are the main reason why the ummah is scattered around without knowing what to hold on to. Because when the enemy was not able to attack Islam and those who believe in it by war, ideology, and even when it comes to a jidal, they knew that they will fail in every single part. This is what they did. they used these 4 components which were presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Utbah ibn Rabi'ah, and they all stem from greed, nothing else. The best negotiator of the Meccans, of Quraysh. He tells his people in a riwayah, and in another riwayah, Abu Jahl is the one that convinces him. However, he decides to go to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam muwajahatan lahu wa yaqulu lahu ya ibn akhi, oh my nephew, what have you done up to now? You've severed the ties of kins, you've caused people to fight between one another, and you've also have embarrassed and humiliated our gods, and you've attacked our trade. Look at the world today. If someone's finances are attacked, they would do whatever it takes to do what? To solve them. And states, when their economy is at risk, they would make sure, even if it's demolishing other parts of the world, so that they can colonize and still carry on plundering and grow their own economy. That's the reality. Do you think the world today, how it is, was built overnight just by following natural means? Actually, no. You and I are victims of it and witnesses as well. Go back to the 1950s and 40s. Ask your grandparents, what have they suffered from? Isn't it the parents that the ones who wore the qumsan, the dresses that we wear today, the thawb that we come to the masjid with? They were slapped, mocked, attacked, left, right, and center, and today we get to enjoy it. Weren't they the ones that did not find life in their own homes after the colonizer came and tried to build their own world by destroying another person's land? Think about it. Utbah ibn Rabi'ah comes to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and tells him the following. Look, if your problem is that you want wealth, in kunta turidu malan, mallaknak, we're going to give it to you. Every single piece of our wealth that we have. Mention the World Bank, IMF, everyone, whatever they have today, we're going to give it to you. You will have the khaza'in in your hands. The treasures belong to you. If you want possession, you want kingdom, al-mulk, then you are going to be the one that brings the final verdict whenever we sit down in the parliament. That's up to you. Which means you control us. We can't control you. And also, if you want a lovely family, not even a family, you want a woman. Imagine our children today grow up, even on billboards, which literally people are advertising cars for marketing. You use a woman that's half naked, stripped of clothes. What's the purpose of it? To just literally spark the fire of greed in the hearts. Because if it cannot happen in another way, then there is a way that man cannot escape. And the greatest of all that man cannot escape, ittaqu dunya wattaqu madha. An-nisa, women. Even the alim, who is a scholar of scholars, if they are presented with this fitna, it is the chances are very thin for one to survive off it. Bear that in mind. But Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was told, we're going to give you any woman you desire on earth. And to top it all, he said that if you have any problem, mentally or emotionally, we'll bring you the best physician that could take care of you. Best doctor. How many of us have known people leaving their own lands, going to other lands to look for life, not for the purpose that they don't know how to live, or they cannot survive where they are, but maybe they can't afford medication. They can't find the right doctor. Or maybe they have to travel so that they can be healthy again. And Rasulullah ﷺ received all of these options. You read the core of them, each one of them are exactly what's causing the chaos and the turmoil of the world today and nothing else. If, for example, you look at the issue of Palestine today, is it just, these issues are not really very comfortable to mention. I'll be very honest with you. But a fact will remain to be a fact, and it will never change. Is it just that they want to dominate a land? Or is it perhaps they want to colonize the Middle East so they can have control like they had in Africa and India and Asia and everywhere else? What's it all about? Ask yourself. When they can plunge, take the wealth, is exactly what Utbah presented to Rasulullah. If they can be the superpowers, is exactly what mulk was presented to Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. If it's about you and I having in front of our eyes that we are exposed to all of this fitna, wealth, people talking about money online, seeing women not wearing clothes, seeing people in positions and power, and each one of us desiring it, it has become the biggest distraction for you and I as Muslims. Bear that in mind. Where does it all stem from? What makes man to live a life like that? إلا على بذر طمع. Rahmatullahi ala Ibn Ata'illah Secondary. May Allah's mercy be upon Ibn Ata'illah Secondary. It all starts by the seed of greed. The moment you allow greed to overcome your heart, it never stops growing. It grows until it takes roots in the heart. And the further it takes roots, the further they grow and firm themselves in the heart, it's extremely difficult to get rid of them. And one becomes blinded that they cannot see the reality. How do we solve this? What's the solution? How do we solve our hearts? هذه القلوب الأفئدة. These hearts that we have inside us are pieces of flesh that literally control our entire systems, our minds, our thoughts, and our decisions. When a mind is literally blocked from seeing the truth and has a hijab on it, it's not because the hijab is there, because they cannot see the reality. Sometimes you see the truth, but you decide not to follow it. It's because of desires and emotions. What you do, you put a hijab, a veil on the truth, and you carry on following the heart, and the heart literally distracts you and deviates you from the path. And it's all related to what? Greed. How do we solve it? How do we get rid of it? How do we find a solution so that our ummah can revive again? أقول قولي هذا واستغفر الله العظيم لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين والمسلمات واستغفروه إنه هو الغفور الرحيم هو البر الكريم. الحمد لله على إحسانه والشكر له على توفيقه وامتنانه وأشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له تعظيما لشانه وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله الداعي إلى رضوانه صلى الله وسلم وبارك عليه وعلى آله وخلانه وسلم تسليما كثيرا وبعد. My dear respected brothers and sisters in Islam, Ibn Ata'illah Secondary rahmatullah alayhi carries on by saying, أنت حر مما أنت عنه آيس وأنت عبد مما أنت له طامع. You are free from that which you have no hope on. What does that mean? Zuhair ibn Ka'b, if I'm not wrong, his second name, in his mu'allaqah, he says very beautiful words. سئمت تكاليف الحياة ومن يعش 80 حولا لا أبالك يسأمي. I got bored of the obligations of life, especially for the one that lives at least 80 years of their lives. They've had a full life, 80, 90, 100, 70. They've seen life enough. Without a doubt, regardless, what would happen to them? They will get bored of life as well. There is no rejection on that. That's exactly what happened. Why do you think our parents end up in Masjid? Why do you think our mothers want to give out more on charity? Because there's nothing much that they saw on this earth besides them living, working, growing old, having a family, and khalas. That's the end of them. What you and I need to realize is this. You can only achieve freedom in your heart and be able to clear your heart from the roots of greed once you understand that one day this life will leave you behind. Which means that when you enter the grave, not that you left life behind. In fact, life left you. Because life is going to carry on moving forward. But you're going to go for a new life. Question is, for how long would you live and not think about it? And pay attention to it? What is your purpose? What is your desire? What is it that you're aiming for? Abdul Fattah Abu Ghudda, he mentions in his book, Safahatun min Sabr al-Ulama, a man once lived a life aiming for the highest and the skies. He ended up achieving what he achieved. but then a few years later he passed away. Then he mentions, sad enough, and unfortunately, this man only lived by plundering, murdering, prosecuting, so that what can happen to him? He can be the king of his land. By the time he literally has it in his hands, he's old enough to even enjoy it, and he passes away. You aim for wealth, wealth will leave you behind. You aim for a huge family, that family will literally take you, escort you to your grave, and they will cry for you for a few years perhaps. But then one day life has to move on. You aim for a position, someone will come and take your position. The same wife you marry is the wife that could be married with another man. The same children will call another man a father. If greed will be the one that literally carries on dominating your heart, question is, until when? Where is your dependence? Who are you relying on? اضرع إلى الله ولا تضرع إلى الناس واقنع بعز فإن العز في الياس واستغني عن كل ذي قربى وذي رحم إن الغني من استغنى عن الناس. Simple. Depend upon Allah and not people. And you have to be satisfied with the honor that Allah has already clothed you with, and that's the honor of Islam. The A'immah, مثلا الإمام السيوطي رحمة الله عليه, simply put, he says that how does a family remain happy even when they are in each other's spaces every now and then? Not that they will love each other so much, not that they will be close between one another, but it's a family that has Allah as their main pillar. Subhanallah. You do for your wife because of Allah, and your wife does it for you for the sake of Allah. You serve your children for Allah, and your children will come to serve the ummah for Allah, not you. What's your purpose? So do you depend on Allah, or do you depend on something in return? Because remember this, when your hopes are at their peak, and that's what you are looking for, you end up becoming a slave of those hopes. And when they are demolished, you end up becoming broken so deep to a level where putting together those fractures is impossible. But the one that depends on Allah, no matter how much you break them, they will remain to be firm. Bear that in mind. You have to remember that. Depend on Allah. The honor of Islam that Allah has given you, be the one that you clothe yourself with. وَلِبَاسُ التَّقْوَى ذَلِكَ خَيْرٌ ذَلِكَ مِنْ آيَاتِ اللَّهِ لَعَلَّهُمْ يَذَّكَّرُونَ. What else do you need? And if you feel that you have to depend on your family, there's nothing wrong depending on them. But would you depend on them for the sake of disobeying Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? لذلك قال الشاعر واستغني عن كل ذي قربى. You make sure that you rid of your dependence upon anyone that is close to you as a member. أو ذي رحم. Even if that person is related to you by blood, is your kin, literally. Why so? إن الغني من استغنى عن الناس. We need each other, regardless. We need to serve one another. We are not just family because we have blood ties together. We share the same faith. But if one literally would be able to serve another by disobeying Allah and transgressing the boundaries of Allah, that help is not worth it. Bear that in mind. Because your desire, your hope has to be only Allah and Him alone, and serving Him. Even if you feel that the position you have is very dear to you, but if you have to let go of it for the sake of Allah, why hold on to what your heart wants to cling on, whereas you have a greater purpose on earth rather than that minute position that you're in? Solution number 2, always remember al-hayatu tafna wa la tadu. Life always comes to an end. Kullu shay'in halikun illa wajhah. If you put your heart in the wrong place, every one of them will come to an end. You have a lovely car, tomorrow it will rust. You have anything that you're wearing today, it will become old. You drink, you eat, you get rid of it, and it will become excrement. And anything that you were able to do today, تدخل في حياة الهرم, you're going to enter into a life of elderly age, and once you reach there, there's nothing much you can do about it. Life has gone and moved forward. Question is, how long will it take us to understand this? If the world is yelling, if the world is shouting, if the world is in chaos, we need to fix ourselves in order to serve the ummah and serve the world out there. But if we don't fix ourselves, and our hearts and understand that there is a greater purpose for this earth and get rid of our greed in our hearts, there is nothing much we can do for the ummah, because every single decision we make will literally be distorted with the emotions that we contain in our hearts. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala save us from that. ألا وصلوا وسلموا على رسول الله كما أمر الله سبحانه إن الله وملائكته يصلون على النبي يا أيها الذين آمنوا صلوا عليه وسلموا تسليما اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما صليت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم اللهم بارك على محمد وعلى آل محمد كما باركت على إبراهيم وعلى آل إبراهيم في العالمين إنك حميد مجيد ورضي الله على الأربعة الخلفاء الراشدين وعلى سائر صحابة رسول الله أجمعين اللهم أعز الإسلام والمسلمين وأذل الشرك والمشركين ودمر أعداءك أعداء الدين ربنا تقبل منا إنك أنت السميع العليم وتب علينا إنك أنت التواب الرحيم واغفر لنا ولوالدينا ولجميع المسلمين الأحياء منهم والميتين برحمتك يا أرحم الراحمين عباد الله إن الله يأمر بالعدل والإحسان وإيتاء ذي القربى وينهى عن الفحشاء والمنكر والبغي يعظكم لعلكم تذكرون اذكروا الله العظيم الجليل يذكركم واشكروه على نعمه يزدكم ولذكر الله تعالى أكبر والله يعلم ما تصنعون أقم الصلاة